Hey everyone, welcome again to our Learn With Launch at Lunch. Gosh, I almost got that wrong. We're on LinkedIn Live. There's a lot of L's there. We're launching, we're on LinkedIn Live. Anyway, I just want to say welcome everyone. If you're watching it live, we're on LinkedIn and YouTube. But if you're watching it on recorded back, obviously don't ask questions, but we're going to kick off with a bit of we always do an icebreaker on these sessions. We're going to introduce ourselves and say our favorite race at sports day, because we're having our offsite next week, aren't we? Our company get together. Every quarter we get together. We're having our offsite and we're going to be doing a launch sports day. So I'm going to start. I'm going to say it's not actually my favorite race, but the one I always have to do was the 1500 because nobody else would do it. I'm not a runner. I'm definitely not a runner, but they would run it the day before because it would take us so long to complete it. They needed to give us 24 hours. Josh, do you want to go next?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I quite like the sack race, to be honest. No logical reason other than I just think I've got good spring in these little legs. So
I love it. And what do you do at launch, Josh?
I am a senior paid media manager. So I work within Google Ads platform a lot of the time, Microsoft as well. And I also spend some of my time doing CRO work for our clients as well.
Nice one. Mike, do you want to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. I think mine's a boring classic, which is the egg and spoon, just because there's always the different techniques and tactics. So I always liked that. And having watched my kids do it now, it's as infuriating as a parent to watch as it was to be in. But I'm an ops director, so work behind the scenes with the team. Done 15 years in the industry, so kind of have a slightly different perspective to what those doing the do now have.
Love that. So today we are going to be talking all about Google Marketing Live. You guys were in Dublin, was it last week? In Dublin, learning everything that, or was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
And we're going to basically be bringing to the audience today some of the insights of what's coming next with Google, what's coming in the future. And I've got a couple of themes just to no spoilers, but the themes that we're going to be going through are creative. It was interesting, Google talking now about creative. That's new for me. Video. Stuff to do with Google Shopping and shopping feeds, and also the evolution of search, which I think has got a chunky bit at the end. So kicking us off, let's start talking about creative.
Cool. So yeah, Jay, like you mentioned, I think a lot of the focus actually was around supporting advertisers with their creative. I think Google have probably recognized it as an area where a lot of people struggle to put the time and resource behind it. So they're just trying to provide as many tools as they can, I think, to help more advertisers with it. And on that, one of the things they spoke about in a lot of detail was a platform called Product Studio, which is a tool that sits within the new versions of Google Merchant Center, which is Google Merchant Center Next. Essentially, it's kind of a suite of AI tools where you can take your original product image and you can enhance it basically through generative AI. So you can tell it, what kind of background you want it to sit in, how you want it to look, where you want people to appear in it, things you want to cut out, etc. So it's really powerful from just testing out kind of how you want your products to appear. And that can be really good for testing things like how you're going to appear in shopping listings, for example, creating different imagery like that. And then the other element of that was really cool, which they showed, was being able to take that image and turn it into video as well. Because again, obviously that's going to be a huge area where people are struggling resource-wise, I think, to put kind of enough behind it to get good video footage, especially around things like individual products. But now if you've got a certain product you want to push, or you've got a new product you're releasing, rather than having to sort of film separate footage for each product you've got, you've now got kind of tool to help you with that within Merchant Center.
And is that something that is like in the wild now, or what are the timelines around that?
So with Product Studio itself, people will start getting access to it if they haven't already. We're hearing it should be this month for a lot of clients, where they shouldn't. Once you've kind of merged onto Google Merchant Center Next, that's when you get access to Product Studio, judging by what we've been told. And yeah, the rollout for that for a majority of advertisers should be this month, but might be slightly delayed for others as well.
Okay, and so product feed optimization is sometimes a neglected part of Google Ads management. So we're seeing that that's going to need to be more part of a strategy now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think another kind of thing we took away from it was making sure that you've got your feed up to date, and you're filling in things like your back-end attributes of products. So essentially, to break it down, you're letting Google know exactly as much as you can about your individual product so it can match it as well as possible. Not only now with what people are searching, like as in what they're typing out, but also with the growth of things like Google Lens, where people are now shopping by image. And one of the things they spoke about at the event was when people are shopping or searching through Google Lens, shopping ads will get that spot at the top of it if it can match it with what the person's searching for. So I think in their example, they used a red suitcase that someone circled, put it in an image, and then they just got a list of shopping listings below it straight away. So Google's going to need, the right product attributes to be able to match up the two things. So feeds definitely.
Can I add as well? I think the circle to search thing is that's part of the potentially some of the discussion later around the future. But for those with Android phones, it's, if you haven't used it, it's the feature where you can literally draw a circle around, pause anything on your phone, draw a circle around it, and then the system will go off and find ads. So from a business perspective, it's a very clever way that Google have found to be able to take people from the likes of Instagram, where you can pause a video, circle it, and then show like for like images. So I think that side of it is potentially massive in terms of that Google Lens. And for those on Apple, having the Google Lens app and the Google app, that kind of brings that to life as well. But it's becoming a native part of search, the kind of visual search element.
And to me, it's the user that is ahead, or the potential customer that is ahead of the brands at the moment. I use visual search a lot. I don't have an Android phone, so I don't even know about that circle to search. I take a screenshot of, I don't know, an Instagram live video as a jumper I really like the look of. I do a search on my phone in the Google app using the little picture thing and get served various products, none of which will very rarely match what I am looking for. And that's where the retailers and the brands aren't really adopting this visual search within the marketing and the optimization of their websites. It's not just about advertising, is it? It's the optimization of their websites and their product listings.
Yeah, and it brings interesting things. So like Josh said, the example they gave was this red suitcase, and then they showed ads for red suitcases. So it starts to open up, do you need all variations of colors, all variation, the one they did was a photo they pretended they took in the airport and someone walking along. So it's lifestyle images and product image. Like this whole gamut of now optimization that I think we need to start considering more and more and more, because that's eventually going to replace keywords.
I mean, you guys have heard me talk about the pink suitcase theory, which, by the way, I still can't find any reference to online. So I'm going to just say I own that now. You heard it here first. But the pink suitcase theory is, you don't sell that many pink suitcases, but it's actually the product that people click on the ads platform because in Google Shopping, because it jumps out at them, and they don't buy that pink suitcase, but it is the entry point to the website for you then to sell the product that they actually want. Well, that's a really interesting thing to see. What are people searching for and what do they buy? And that analysis is, I believe, very rarely done by retailers. But the barrier to entry of that is not that high. So it should be something maybe that CMOs take and heads of marketing take into account. Talk to me a little bit more about video and how that showed up at Google Marketing Live. What was Google talking about there?
So yeah, it's definitely referenced a lot throughout, except with one of the focuses with this product studio thing was a big focus with that image to kind of video stuff that's now available. The other thing that does kind of tie in with video is that Google have promised more transparent reporting at asset level within Performance Max and demand gen campaigns, which is very welcome to all advertisers basically who
Can I think maybe explain a little bit more about how video is used within demand gen and PMax, Performance Max, for anybody who's watching who perhaps is at CMO level and isn't in the weeds of an ads account. How have those campaign types changed the assets that you need and how it appears?
Yeah, so with Performance Max, it's essentially a campaign type that covers pretty much all areas that Google cover. So it will run across search, shopping, YouTube placements, and video as well. So when we're creating Performance Max campaigns, we're uploading assets for all of those platforms. So you've got your image-based ads, you've got your text-based ads, and then video as well. What we currently don't have is very good visibility on how each of those individual assets performs within a campaign. But with what Google suggested at the event was that now we're going to start to understand what assets are actually working well individually, and that can then inform what we're going to do moving forward. So for example, if we've got 5 different videos, which we can have in a Performance Max campaign, and we see that one of them is, getting great visibility or really high view rate, for example, we can then inform advertisers to go and create more videos like this or create something opposite to it, or whatever we want to do. But it gives us a lot better platform for testing in that sense.
So again, giving the reason and the feedback metrics to the marketing departments to invest their resource in creating more video. It's another example of where your future customer, the users, are demanding video. They are demanding video. They're demanding the ability to, like we were just saying about visual search, to have a more dynamic way of viewing the product. But the brands are behind the curve on this, certainly from what we see, trying to get video assets. Is it wrong? Is it a challenge?
Yeah. And I think this is where some of the generative AI features that they kind of talked about. So Josh mentioned this ability to take a product image and turn it into a video is very much trying to answer some of that need. It's trying to take that. Now, they're not the best videos, but they are videos. So it's entry level stuff that will take images and kind of remove some of that barrier. But the way they talk about it, the demo they gave was incredible. Like if that is the version that we see in the platform and we can get to, then it definitely unlocks video as a start point across. Obviously, if you've got thousands of products, it's really debilitating trying to cover all of those. But it doesn't take away the need for good brand videos as well, which I think that's the risk of leaning too much into the AI, is you get very generic, samey videos. But it's a stepping point, I think.
Video agencies, I think, have got such an opportunity to really harness the understanding of the outputs of what their clients need and lead the conversation on that, because to put out a brief for video content at the moment, the CMOs don't really know what those outputs need to look like. It's not their responsibility to know every single asset size we need. So video agencies and us as performance marketing agencies need to be able to upskill our CMOs to be able to put budget lines against this kind of content. It's also an example of where we're seeing those marginal gains. If you have the video content, if you have, if you are optimizing your feed, if you're optimizing the website to be able to embed this all in, it's a competitive advantage rather than just throwing more money at the ads.
Absolutely.
I'm feeling like the flow of conversation there. We need to talk a bit more about shopping feeds, a neglected part of what a lot of marketing departments are doing. What other opportunities are there with shopping feeds?
I think the main thing that came of it was sort of like we touched on. I think the main, people really need to make sure that they're using all the attributes they've got within shopping feeds. So what we'll often see if we take over a new feed, for example, or generally what we'll see with advertisers is they'll focus heavily on the title and the image of a product, which is fine, and that is important. As you know, is apparent with Google's new product studio features, for example, they place a lot of weight on the creative that we put forward with shopping. Testing titles as well, obviously, to see what resonates well with your customers in shopping listings is also really important. But I think it's the back end attributes which seem to be growing in importance. So particularly with how search habits might be changing, and also how accurate Google's trying to be with this kind of image-based search. So like, so Mike said in the example we saw, it was they showed a red suitcase and all the shopping listings were red suitcases. It wasn't as if there was a kind of mishmash of everything. So it's important that Google knows that your product is a red suitcase. It is X material, it is X size, it weighs X amount, so it can match up as accurately as possible with what.
Because that's the aim, isn't it? Is to give the highest relevancy of content to the user who is searching. And if the trust signals aren't there for Google to understand what the product is and what people think about it and what size it is it matching, then you'll find that your product isn't matched. Competition is harder than ever before. So that's again that little marginal gain that can be made there. And
it works both ways. Obviously, whilst you'll be showing for more accurate stuff, it also means that you're going to be wasting less money showing for things that you shouldn't be showing for. So it's kind of double-edged sword. It works both ways as well.
I know that it wasn't talked about necessarily at Google Marketing Live, but conversations that we're having with our clients and the brands that we work with is taking again another level strategic approach to I say shopping campaigns. That's not even what they're called really anymore, is it? But being able to understand the seasonality, the profit, the availability, it's almost on a day-by-day basis that we can react to that information to be able to make sure the budget is spent in the right places. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think profit's a really good point to bring up as well. This is something that Google did focus on as well within Performance Max campaigns, where people can start to bid towards profit on products. So talking about those attributes in individual products, one of those attributes is cost of goods sold. So Google can begin to understand the margin you make on products, and kind of smart bidding's evolving so that you can bid towards that as well. So you can focus in on the products that do make you the best margins, or gives you another thing to be able to focus on.
Yeah, and I think one of the benefits of a session like we had at Google Marketing Live is it's not just the big keynotes that you see, like that are obviously broadcast to everyone. Josh and I got to spend kind of 2 or 3 hours with the actual product team. So we had sessions where we're not allowed to talk about it, so we can't tell you what we talked about inside, but they kind of demo these features, and they show things like with that bid to profit model is you can switch between the different bidding types. So you can, we know that retailers, and they've heard from people like us that retailers can't have a bid to profit if they suddenly go to sale the next day, because that's going to suddenly destroy the kind of bidding engine. So you can switch seamlessly between the two, from one tactic to another day to day, and still be able to maintain it, because the AI is strong enough behind it to be able to make that kind of switch. So it's very powerful now.
And you're right to make that point about Google Marketing Live. It's not just an opportunity for Google to broadcast what's coming in the future. It's that interactive opportunity to sit with those product managers. 2 years ago, when we went, and it was in Zurich, Fatboy Slim were playing that. He was playing. I'm seeing him at the Eden Project next week. I'm very excited about that. But when you were talking to these product managers, they were taking, like, it was a two-way conversation. It wasn't, again, a broadcast. It was there were retailers in the room. There were premier partner agencies like us. That we were able to feed back from what our clients were seeing, challenges, opportunities. Yeah, it was great.
No, absolutely. And I think the key thing is they're not client facing people that they kind of put in those rooms. They're the product developers. So sometimes it felt mean giving the bad feedback because you could see how personally they took it, but also, you know, you could see them talking about the feedback, and some of the immediate feedback people gave, they were, you know, having real discussions about what that could mean.
And like you can see the benefits from it now, like, and we are starting to get more transparency with Performance Max, for example, which would have been something that would have been brought up relentlessly, I'm sure, at the previous events. So it does kind of pay off as well. Yeah.
Talk to me about the evolution of search. I mean, that sounds like a blog post waiting to happen. What does it mean?
I mean, I think the obvious outward-facing portion of that is one of the big things Google have talked about recently is this AI overviews. So those who've done search long enough remember the controversy of when they removed the side load of ads, I think like 8 years ago.
You're showing your age there, Mike.
This is the biggest shakeup since then, I think, because, you know, what the AI overview ads are, or what AI overview is when you do a conversational type search, so it's probably 15 keywords long into the query. The examples they kind of give is, I want to go on a holiday to X and I want to visit an ice cream parlor. Give me the best 5 in the area. Now, we can't market to those keywords by finding them. Like, that's going to be impossible. What the system will do is generate those results. So we'll see, you know, from an organic perspective, it kind of replaces some of the snippets that you kind of see, and it's kind of doing more of that. But what they've then done is put these sponsored sections within it. So it kind of hints towards ultimately what I think the future will be is a kind of death of the keyword. Like, the keywords time that they referenced in some of the sessions is definitely limited. PMax is the campaign type of the future. Just because that the stat they've had for years, this 15% of all searches have never been seen before, you know, that's where, you know, broad match becomes king. And they've kind of rebranded broad match as being an AI ready match type.
I'm just kind of delving a little bit deeper to broad match, just for, again, the people who aren't in the weeds of a campaign, and what broad match means nowadays.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, historically, broad match was one of those that no one ever used because it was too broad and it was kind of thematically related. I remember one of the stats, and one of the stats they said is that AI now sitting behind broad match, and broad match, basically, we can put in a keyword of shoes, and then it will match to a conversational type query that might be 15 characters or 15 words long where shoes is involved or trainers are involved. It kind of knows enough to be able to get right on the fringes of what it means. They rolled out this stat on one of the slides, I remember because I got a photo of it, of AI powered broad match now being 10% stronger if used with smart bidding. So it's this concept of broad as it was terrible because it was just left to do whatever it wanted, whereas AI and smart bidding sitting behind it now means that you kind of have to accept loosening the control. Like, we can't find those 15 word long queries, but the system can, and it knows the audience enough because we're feeding it good enough data that it will then find relevant people.
I can hear Ian, our head of data and analytics. He's got a catchphrase. What's his catchphrase, Mike? And how have Google stolen it?
They have stolen it. They so ours, Ian's, is bad data equals bad everything. Google's is good AI requires good data. So I guess bad data equals bad everything, comma, especially AI. Maybe that's our evolution.
and you know, from a what this means point of view, is just having conversion data of what that final product, that final transaction is worth is not enough. All of those little micro conversions. I feel like I've been saying that word a long time, but still the amount of businesses out there who aren't really taking hold of data properly and making sure that they have a really robust first party data strategy, a really robust customer journey mapping to data points that we can push within the campaign types. I'm gonna make reference to previous LinkedIn Lives content that's available on YouTube in our resources section of our website to be able to see you know, specific sessions like this on leveraging data, on leveraging GA4, even you know, a few talks from Google in the past about AI and how to make the most of it. So there's some incredible resources on there. Part of why we do these sessions, part of why we share them with the community, is we're a B Corp agency. We want to lift up the whole community, empower CMOs to be able to understand what's coming next, what they need to do also now. And we've got an event, I think, happening on the 10th of October that was announced yesterday, which is very exciting. You're able to sign up for that on our website now as well. So just getting those plugs in. Well, what else? What else? There was something to do with Victoria's Secrets, I think.
Oh, yeah. So this was referencing, I guess it kind of ties in a bit with what we're talking about with kind of image-based searches generally. But in one of the talks I went to, one of the examples showing where kind of people using image search more within a website, not just via Google, but people going on Victoria's Secret, and they offered rather than you just searching for a product on their website, you could upload an image of a product that you had seen someone have or that you liked, and they could show you what they had closest matching to that. So again, it's, whilst it obviously affects us as advertisers as well, it's also something to consider from a website perspective as well about what users' expectations will be moving forward. And I guess as people search more with image, generally, that will be their expectations when they get onto websites as well.
And the threat here is that if brands aren't leveraging it properly, it means that people will lose, you know, the ability to do this within Google. If the results aren't good enough quality, if the brands aren't leveraging it, and there are apps coming along and there are other social platforms, Pinterest does it really, really well. I know of an app coming out that you'll be able to take a picture of your outfit and it will then curate shoes and handbags to go with it. And people will come out of search engines, insert favorite search engine there, and into other ways of searching. So making sure that you're, as a brand, as a CMO, that you're aware of, are you leveraging it properly within Google, but also what else is there in the world? Because then the investment in that video content, or the investment in that ability to do that on your website, you're going to have multiple points and multiple platforms that will be able to make use of it.
Yeah, definitely agree.
So we have a couple of minutes left. I think we've got probably one more point to cover, but if those who are watching live want to ask any questions, you've got two experts here ready to answer them. Go and ask them a really difficult question. I want to see what happens on a Friday lunchtime when we challenge these two brains. But we've already talked a little bit about conversational commerce, but I think there's something to do with chatbots. Is that right?
Yeah. So again, this was thinking of, like, the example was given was retail in particular. But it was just basically what they were talking about was trying to get that kind of in-store experience for people onto a website. And the kind of theme of that was that AI is beginning to be able to bridge that gap where you can get that feeling of going into a shop and saying, I want this, this, and this. Where are they? Or show me what's best for me in that kind of style or whatever. And basically the kind of improvements in AI and in chatbots as well can allow people to do that. So again, it's another thing to be conscious of from a website perspective, is that I think people's expectations of websites are going to increase really significantly over the next couple of years. I think what the standard will be a lot higher than what it is now. I think there'll be quite a big jump in the next couple of years with people, like I said, being able to replicate what they would in store basically on a website.
Yeah, there was a you know, the headlines were all about, you know, the metaverse and walking into the store and being able to transact. You know, that might be further away for your everyday brand, but being able to replicate an in-person experience on a website. Again, our last event was all about conversion optimization, and that VWO were there doing a talk about you're leaving money on the table. You've got, you know, if you had a bricks and mortar store and you had that many people walk in and walk straight back out again, you would be wondering, what the hell were you doing wrong? So really understanding omni-channel from a proper standpoint of we're still only playing half the game. So that's a great talk by Jan Marks that was at our last event. Go on, Tom, and who's in the background, our marketing manager, put that resource page up again, because that was a really great talk, and there were some other brilliant talks there. So I think we're done here. Thank you very much, guys, for bringing those insights. And I just want to double check how many burritos were also eaten, because that is a big part of Google Marketing Live.
Oh, it's fair to say I made the most of it when I was there. I got through 4 in the evening event. And if anything, I regret not taking more, to be honest. No shame.
They were fabulous.
On that bombshell, I am going to wrap this up and say thank you so much for bringing that knowledge to our wider community. Do please check out our resources, follow this page, tell people about us, because we want to share this knowledge so that CMOs know what is coming next and can embrace it into their strategy. Thanks, guys. Have a great Friday.